Well, Ron, here we are.
Here we finally are, huh?
Yeah, a year later, we've got the 300 H&H. This 1952 model, Winchester Model 70, obviously pre-64. And, based on our prior encounters regarding this rifle, we had a number of issues.
We had some issues.
Couldn't close the bolt, couldn't open the bolt, barrel shot out. There was a sleeve that was put in there incorrectly. So,
oh my gosh. You had more trouble with that.
Yeah.
Let's just back up. For folks who didn't see the first two videos with Steve's project rifle, what Steve likes to do is get old Model 70 rifles and fix them up, especially your stock work. Just beautiful stock work on his refinishing. But he always wanted a 300 H&H. You've got what, 270, 30-06, and some others?
And 375.
All right. So he thought he'd round it out with that 300 because the H&H was a classic and it was the first 300 Magnum, the first 30 caliber Magnum. And back in the day, that's all you could get.
Yeah, it's called a Super 30.
Yep.
1925 is when the cartridge was developed. And of course, these rifles weren't generated until the mid-30s. 1936 is when they started coming off the line. So it was one of the original offerings.
Yep. And it just beat the 300 Weatherby. I'm sure the Weatherby, Roy looked at that 300 H&H and said, I think I can make this go faster.
Here we go. Bigger, better, faster.
But boy, for a long time there in the early and mid 20th century, this was the 30 caliber Magnum, 300 H&H.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it performs extremely well. I mean, ballistically, considering its age and the bullets are available at the time. When you look at the way they designed the cartridge and everything, it's just got all kinds of flexibility to it, and you can load it up, load it down, and it's just a good, it's a good cartridge.
Yeah, we're going to do a lot of shooting here and just see what it'll do for us. But let's go over what you had to do now. We know originally you had this stock, right?
I did. Yeah, this was the original stock, and I went ahead and refinished it, and thinking that I could live with it. It had been cut off to right at 12 inches.
Ooh.
Standard length of pull on a Model 70 and a pre-64 is 13 5/8 inches. So I kept adding and adding and adding until I could get. It wasn't so much that I'm that long or that that big, but the eye relief was a critical issue. With that kind of recoil, that scope coming back on you, you're really running the risk of scoping myself if I didn't have enough eye relief. So you can see, these two pads are very similar, but I had to add these extensions in here in order to get it to where I could get the eye relief and then have the proper length of pull.
And you just didn't like the look of it.
I mean, functionally as a shooter, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't. Every time I looked at it, I went, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. So where did you find another stock?
So I shopped for several months. Finally found this one in Indiana. It had a significant amount of water damage to it. And there was some cathodization that took place with the metal parts that were in, like screws and so on. So the wood was stained.
Oh.
So had to bleach the wood. Had to bleach the entire stock.
Just do that with like Clorox bleach?
Well, no, there are several different products out there. The one that I used is I can't remember the name of it right now, but I bought it at a wood finishing store, and you just apply it. It's like a paste. I tried to do just the areas that were the worst, but the bleach would just go in and penetrate. So I finally took all that off, did the whole thing, and started from scratch.
Okay.
So that was the stock.
Did you have to do a lot of sanding? Were there a lot of dings and dents?
Yes. Yeah. I steamed it. I steamed the living daylights out of it because there was a lot of use, and I always have to be extremely careful when I do that. But then I went through probably a week worth of soaking the wood, heat drying it to raise the grain, sanding it down.
How do you heat dry it? I understand that putting an iron
hair
on
dryer.
it.
Well, there was a hair dryer. Yeah. So when the steam, you get the dents out with the steam, but when I'm actually sanding a stock, what I'll do is I'll get it good and wet, and then I'll take a blow dryer and just put heat to it, and you can see the water evaporate out of the wood. But as the water comes out, it brings that grain out.
Oh, so you can sand it finer and finer.
Finer and finer and finer. Yeah. The thing that you got to be really careful of with that process is not over sanding it because closing the pores off. you know, actually what you want to do is sand it to get it back to shape, to get it into condition where you can finish it. The polishing itself comes with the coats after you start putting finish on. So that
do you use filler on it?
I did. I used a stock filler.
Okay. And that fills in the little grain.
It does. It does. Yeah.
In the wood.
And yeah, I did that. And then I've got probably, and I used a Birchwood Casey True Oil on this stock, and there's at least 25 coats. 25 coats of hand rubbed finish on there.
Yeah. That's your classic oil finish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, it looks just beautifully satiny, smooth, and wow.
Yeah.
Nice job. Nice job.
Thank you.
Now, with the checkering, though, I've always wondered about that. You just kind of ignore the checkering because really, what can you do?
I want to stay away from the checkering. So the way that I do that is I take painter's tape and I put it over the checkering, and then I took a razor knife and I cut in the border.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I put the finish on there, the first couple finishes, I make sure that I'm not pulling it off and the finish getting behind there, because what I don't want is that checkering to be this gloss.
Okay.
So it's not until after I'm 100% done, then I'll take a paper towel with a rag inside of it and soak it in that True Oil, and then I'll tape the outside, and then I'll just put one coat of the True Oil over the checkering. And then I've got a nylon brush, and I just brush it through there. That's how you get it in all That's how you get it in, and you don't have too much. And that's how that happens. And you can see it here. On that particular stock, where it's completely different finish, but it's sealed. So
if you wanted to, you could get the checkering tools and follow the lines and sharpen them up a little bit.
Yeah, you can. I just choose not to, because the way that I buy these is I really don't care about the finish. What I look for is cracks and the checkering. I can deal with almost anything else. Yeah, but the cracks and the checkering are just
okay.
We don't want it.
So we've got our stock done. Beautiful job there. Now you mentioned you had the barrel was sleeves. The chamber was I don't understand why they need to rechamber it by putting a sleeve in it, but they screwed something up in the chamber. They put a sleeve in it, and then they rechamber that sleeve back to the original.
They're supposed to.
But the sleeve had a lip in front of it in which the cartridge was swelling and sticking, so you couldn't extract.
That's
that right?
correct. That's correct.
So bang, you fire, the case swells, it gets behind that little lip. And he couldn't get it out.
No, and so initially went to chamber the round, couldn't close the bolt all the way because the head spacing was wrong. So I had the head spacing corrected, and then the cartridge fit in there perfectly. Test fired it, and I couldn't extract it. So ultimately what wound up happening was we had run a bore camera down in there, and I could see it on a TV screen, and you couldn't see the sleeve. It just, with the way that everything was aligned, there's so much alligator cracking, which you saw in the barrel itself from, just being
heat
burned
cracking.
out.
Yeah.
The heat cracking that it was just, that's all you could see. And so it wasn't until we took the barrel off to try to figure out what else we could do that we saw the sleeve. And then once we saw the sleeve, we went, now what? And there was no way to fix the muzzle end of that sleeve. So I just called a timeout and just said, stop working on it. Let me think about this. Giant timeout. It's like my grandson's T, and so that's what we did. We just called a timeout, and then so I started shopping for barrels.
So this is an original barrel.
It is an original Model 70 barrel. The problem with it is that this gun was 1952, and up until the mid 50s, when they stamped the barrel, it said 300 Magnum. And it wasn't until the mid 50s that they did
specified
300
which
H
Magnum?
and H Magnum. And so this barrel is not a period of the receiver, but I don't really care. It says H and H on it, and I was just happy to get a barrel that was in that good a shape. Rifling, everything is pristine in it. It's beautiful, bright, shiny bore.
Now, Steve, when you get this barrel, even though it's a Model 70 and it's going to fit the same action and all, it doesn't really fit necessarily for headspace and bolt and everything else.
And it didn't.
So what did you have to do?
So what we had to do is we had to it took a while to get the barrel actually on. take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, kind of to wear it to where you could get it all the way. On the bottom side of the receiver and the bottom side of the barrel are 2 lineup marks that are done at the factory. And so theoretically, the military rifles, if they got those 2 to line up, they didn't care about anything else, and they'd ship it.
Adequate for headspace.
Yeah. Because the ammunition, everything was sloppy, from that side of it. But in our particular instance, we got it to line up, check the headspace, and it was off.
Excessive?
No, just
under.
Oh, I mean, it was under, and so we reamed it out, 1,000th or something like that to get the exact correct headspace,
Okay.
and that's where we are right now.
All right.
At that point.
So now we just need to see if it'll shoot.
That's correct.
If all your efforts were for naught.
Well, we're going to find out pretty dang quick. Yay.
All right. Have you bore sighted, shot it, or anything yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh boy. So first thing we're going to do is pull that bolt and bore sight it, right?
That's a great plan.
Yeah, I have the honor.
You go for it. Let me get this out of the way.
Fun, fun, fun. Oh, we got to come way up on that, baby. There we go. Now I can see a target through your scope. I wonder if the barrel's pointing in the same direction. Hey, it is.
That's helpful.
It's helpful, but it's not. Boy, it's pretty close, Steve. Based on my first look. Of course, you guys know what I'm doing here. You just look down the barrel and you center the target in that circle as best you can. Then you look up to see how close to that your crosshair is, and by golly, I don't know, that looks pretty close to me. Right about. Take a look, Steve. I think we're high, but the windage looks good.
Yep.
Think we're close enough?
I think we should try it.
You want to take our first shot at 50 yards or 30 yards or something so we make sure we're on
the paper? We could do that.
You want to waste ammo? Okay, let's shut things down and we'll get that out here and set up for that. Where'd you hit, Steve? Ho-ho! Just on the bottom of the yellow. That is about perfect.
That is for...
That should be about 2 inches high at 100.
Okay.
Let's move out there now. Here is Steve's first shot at the 100-yard target with his newly restored 300 H&H and a Model 70 Winchester. Two inches up. What did I tell you? Ha ha! Beautiful. Why don't you put 2 more down for a group, huh? Steve, now you've got these plastic bags with different ammo in there. I assume you're different loads or what?
Yeah. Yeah, so the first 2 rounds were done with a really light load, just to get it on paper, so I'm not wasting a bunch of powder and so on. Then I step up to my test loads, of which I have 3 rounds each. And of course, obviously, we'll look at the brass after each load to make sure we're not hitting any pressure signs. But I shouldn't. I mean, because this is really, I'm not loading it to the max anyway. This is just kind of mid-range, just upper mid-range loads.
Okay.
So we should be good.
What bullet are you shooting?
It's a Barnes 168 grain TSX.
Nice. That's a great bullet for a general all-purpose 300 H&H, I would think.
Yeah, I had used it in my 300 WSM and, great success with that. So I felt like I could just carry over and just start with this and see what happens.
All right, let's see what kind of group you can get.
Okay.
You got to aim for the same center now that you have one hole there?
Yeah, I'm just going to aim center bullseye. No adjustments. We'll just see what happens.
Okay. Jumped quite a bit to the right. 3 inches further right than the previous one, but keep shooting your group. We'll make the adjustment later.
Correct.
Elevation is nice and consistent. Those would have been touching if it hadn't changed the windage.
Did I hit the same hole?
Yeah, I think you did.
Holy smokes. 1956 barrel, 1952 action, and a rebuilt rifle. My goodness gracious.
Give
Three
it another
shots
one.
that close together.
Same hole. You put it in the same hole, my friend. All right, pressure's on. Don't screw it up.
Those first two shots were in the same. Did I hit the same hole again?
You just put 3 shots in about the same hole. I think one's just a smidgen out, but I'll bet you got a, I don't know, 0.3 some inch group.
That's a user error that I can live with. That's incredible. Holy smokes.
Oh my gosh, do you have a shooter?
You like it?
This is a tight cluster touching. Oh my gosh.
Not bad for just starting out, huh?
Not bad for a how old barrel?
1956.
Wow. That is pretty impressive.
Gosh, Ron, you know, this is a cobbled together 70-plus-year-old rifle that no one, not me especially, would have ever dreamed that we could get this kind of performance right immediately on test loads. I mean, just right off the bat. Can you believe that?
You know what, Steve? We're not getting any velocity readings. You want to get a chronograph up?
Sure. Why not? Have fun.
Let's go get the chronograph. We know the rifle shoots. Now let's go see how fast it shoots. Okay, Steve, now what are these loads?
Oh, it's a 168 grain Barnes TSX.
What do you think you're going to be going at?
I would say it's just under 3,100 feet per second for this load right here.
That's pretty snazzy for 168.
Yep.
Well, let's drop them in, see what they do. .32-20. We don't have a super flat primer. I'm not seeing any cratering rims on the back of it. Don't see any ejector marks, not that you have an ejector to see with the Model 70, but I don't see any pressure signs.
Nope.
I think we're fine shape.
Yep, right there. See it?
Yeah, we're looking at a little mark here just off the primer, and we're going to show you what it is on the bolt face. Where do you see it on the bolt? Oh, yes.
Right there.
It's a little divot out of there, huh?
Yep.
See that little divot? It's up on the upper right. Funny looking little mark. At any rate, the brass of the primer is kind of flowing into that.
It sure is.
Mm-hmm. No big deal.
No, and it's obviously it's not affecting the accuracy.
Here's our last 3 shots. This is his heaviest load. How far from the top is this load in the recipe book?
I'm say half a grain, probably.
Half a grain below max?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the predicted outcome of that?
Well, again, it was 3,100 and some feet per second, but we're already exceeding that because of the length of the barrel. So I'm going to guess we're going to be at probably 30, 32, 30, something like that. I'm just guessing.
I bet 3250.
3250 sounds like a good round number to me. I kind of like that number. What do you think?
We're going for it.
Okay.
It is recording there. Okay, get on in there.
All set?
All set. You can see the flattening of the primer on the right. That was the heaviest load, right up near max. And that's what you look for. You notice how it's a little bit flatter on that primer? There's a little more rounded edge on the one on the left. That was the medium load. Either one would be fine to shoot in that rifle. I mean, that thing can take plenty of pressure, but the accuracy was gone after that first one. So what are you thinking, Steve? You're going to stick with the first load?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Accuracy means way more than another 50 feet per second.
That's correct.
3244, 3276,
32.92. Your high was 32.92. Your low was 32.44. Your average was 32.70. We guessed 32.50, not too far off. But I think that first batch you produced was going to be the winner.
I do too.
Yep.
Got some new hearing protection here from Shell Shock. Let's see what they've sent. Pretty nice kit. It's got glasses as well. Oh, some cleaning solution here for the glasses. Looks like it has a couple of interchangeable lenses. Nicely protected in here. I would imagine there's a clear one and probably a sun. Yeah, this one looks like it's probably for sunny. I like those interchangeable lenses. I hope, though, that they come with prescription. I can always adjust my scope to work with a non-prescription lens. But if I'm using my eyeglasses for work, yeah, look at there. Be nice to have prescription. All right, and then here are, of course, the electronic muffs. Oh, I like this right here. I like that system rather than the ones that adjust right here. And that's because so often these, I have to readjust them. These are staying nicely. I like that. Yeah, you slide those down. Here's your on-off switch, usual stuff. Now, they're claiming about 28 to 30 decibels of sound reduction, and they like to advertise really fast time. In other words, you're listening to normal speech, the shot goes off, obviously it stops that, but then normal speech and sounds come back in a microsecond. I'm gonna have to test for that, but that's what we'll be using, Shell Shock.
Well, Steve, how did you do? Looks
Well,
to
Ron,
me like you all came through.
Yeah. Yeah, we have enough energy, enough retained energy to get through a piece of OSB.
That's why you wanted that 300.
Oh, it is. I had to have something that could penetrate OSB. Well, so this was our first shot coming off of our short target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was your zeroing shot.
That zeroing shot. And then we came over here. This 3-shot group right here is just
spectacular.
Yeah, spectacular. So we had a 3-shot group right here. That was my lowest test load.
And that was about in the middle of the range,
yes,
according to the book?
Yes, about in the middle of the range, according to the book. And then the next group was when we stepped up over here,
yep.
Which is, roughly 1.5 inches or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third group was this one right here.
And so you came up with grain and powder?
This is a grain and powder increase
each
between,
time.
Actually here, from here to here, from here to here.
One grain each time.
That's correct.
And this last one was almost 2,300. I mean, 3,300.
Yeah, almost 3,300 feet per second, which just shocked me.
Yeah,
I mean, I honestly wasn't expecting that.
So I think you can easily settle for this for the accuracy you're going to get.
I'll take this over the velocity any day.
Yeah.
Of
course, you're going to want to do some more, make sure it wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
but basically, what I'll do is I'll load up, inspect the brass, clean it all up, resize everything, reload it, and then I'll probably do 8 or 10 of these, and then do 2 5-shot groups, and and just to verify everything before before I stop. And
well, you know what you could also do is fool around with your seating depth on these. If you wanted to go with the fastest one, you might bring the accuracy down if you play around with your seating depth on it.
I could. Yeah.
I mean,
I could do that.
It suggests that if these were all at the same seating depth, this one was working for you, you probably got the correct seating depth. But you never know. Little things change with your vibrations and oscillations in your barrel.
Now, this isn't, with the Model 70s that I've shot previously, this is not an unusual type of a thing. I had one 30-06 in particular that was notorious for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And, once I found the right load, it just all of a sudden, everything just constricted. And I was playing seating depth, powders, I mean, everything you can imagine.
Yep.
And it just didn't like anything. And all of a sudden, once it fell in love, then it was forever.
Yeah.
Love forever. So,
well, I wouldn't complain too much were I you with what this thing is doing as is, but
no, I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy. So
congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your help.
And a lot of credit for your perseverance on this one.
It took a little bit. It did.
You hung in there, man. Shows what can be done with some perseverance.
Well, that was pretty exciting to see Steve's little project rifle shoot that well. A 70-year-old rifle with a different barrel than original, and he shoots a practically 3 shots touching group. He is really proud of that rifle. So he packed up and went into the house for a cup of coffee for the road, and then he's heading home, and I have a hunch he's not going to be too happy when he opens his gun case and finds out he forgot his rifle. Hey, everybody, I'll give it back to him if he comes back someday. In the meantime, everybody, let's hunt honest and shoot straight.